have time for both, so I'm going to let you choose which one do you want. Do you want to see the necklaces demonstrated, or do you want to see the off-center wall hanging?
Offset.
Offset wall hanging? How many say offset wall hanging? That looks like the majority. All right, the offset wall hanging is totally planned before I start. I make fun of wood turners, and I do it to some extent. How many of you ever heard a wood turner, somebody say, "I let the wood talk to me"? I start with a plan on everything I do. Now, there's opportunities that arrive when I screw up and I say, "Oh, gee, I'm going to redesign that right in the middle of it. You know, it's okay." Or I'll run into a beautiful streak of ambrosia and say, "I want to keep that in my piece," so I'll reshape around it. But I start off with a definite plan. Now this one, this is my center hole. I'm going to shape the outside. I'm going to put a curvature to it. And then I'm going to mount it on these three centers. And I'm going to make a wheat pattern. And here's 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. The reason I plan it is those strikes are lined up with the grain. See, if you mount this on a wall and the grain's on an angle like that and you've got arcs going through it, it looks absolutely horrible. Where if you've got the grain running horizontal and the strikes coming up, it looks like wind blowing grain over. That's why I call it the wheat grain pattern. So that's critical. And I've got another blank here that's done wrong, and when we're finished, I'll show you. Somebody asked me, do I ever make mistakes? And yes, I get out of the bed in the morning. You know, it's still happens. Now, my piece of wood is 1 inch thick. My holes are drilled in 3/8 to a 1/2 inch because I need 3 threads from that worm screw in there or I don't feel safe. If I've only got 2, it's kind of iffy whether it's going to stay or not. I want to go through this rather quickly, safely but quickly. I am not going to bring up the tail, well I am going to bring up the tailstock, but I'm not going to bring up the point. I don't want to make a dimple in the front of that because that's going to be the high spot on the bowl. But I want pressure there as a safety factor. And I use a golf ball. Do we have any golfers in here? This ball is for you. It's a hole-in-one. Think about it. And about once a year I go to the local golf course and walk around and collect enough of these for students for the whole year. Pushes in, guarantees it's not going to come off. It may leave a few of the golf ball dimples on it, but that's about it. Make sure we're going to miss the tool rest. Stand back where I don't fall on my backside. And I'm just going to round it off and find my start points. Again, just a push cut across. Come back the other way with a shear cut so it's nice and clean. Now right now I've got 2 sharp edges that will cut me, so I'm going to knock those back. And I'm going to put a pencil mark out there. That pencil mark is going to be as close to center as I can eyeball it. And what that tells me is if I make my arc tighter than that, I'm going to show holes in the back side. So I don't want those to go through. And I'm going to put just a real subtle curve. And I'm going to start with the golf ball there, and then I'll take it away in just a few minutes. And if you notice, most of the work is being done with a large muscle group. My hands are basically holding the tool. They're not doing much moving at all. And I've got better muscle control over long straight. All I'm doing is put in a subtle arc. you want that curve as fluid as you can possibly get it. Because when you put your pattern in, if it's not, you're going to get a curve in your cut off. All right. One time I thought I'd be smart and back the golf ball out while it was spinning, and I remembered real quickly why you wear a face shield. It came off at an angle, and fortunately I did have a face shield on. And this is just a shear straight. This is one of the few times that I sand before I'm done with the tool. Normally I refuse to sand before I'm done with the tool, because then you're putting sand in the wood, and as soon as you put your tool on it, it grinds it dull. So any sand in your wood will impregnate into the wood, and then you've got a good tool draw maker. I'm okay with that, just like it is. So I've got to take it out and put my worm screw in. And I know from past experience I've got to put at least one spacer, if not two, on my worm screw. Otherwise it'll bust out the face. When you put your worm screw in, make sure it's set tight, because you can catch it corner to corner and not know it. And then the first time you get to at least a little bit of a bounce, it says, I'm coming out of there. I got 1, 2, 3.5 threads showing, so I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to turn my lathe speed down now, and I'm going to start with the center hole, and this is the arc line I want to make, close to the center point. I've taught this at Airmont at school, and we were doing it on 20-inch diameter lathes, and this gentleman swore up and down that his 16-inch piece of wood 7 inches off center was going to be just fine. And I said, and he's standing there like this and looking at it. I says, yep. I said, did you measure the center point? He goes, oh yes, measured it. Well, he measured from the first center point, not the one he was turning on. Then it made it 3/4 of a turn, and it hit that lathe and bounced. And my first reaction was I wanted to laugh, because I asked him 3 times to check it. But after I made sure he was okay, then we both laughed, and he just looked at me and says, well, I guess I didn't measure the right way. I guess so. All right, now, I want the long tool rest. The reason for the long tool rest is to remind me I can't put anything on this side of the tool rest. I've done some of these 38 inches in diameter, outboard over the end of the lathe, and I put a yardstick on it to remind me I can't pass that yardstick. Now I want to get this as close to it as I can without hitting. I want to spin to make sure it doesn't hit at the bottom. The lathe is all the way down, and I want to put a pencil mark about where I want my point. That looks good to me. Now I'm going to be able to see that, believe it or not, when it's spinning, hopefully. And I'm going to use that same point tool. I'm going to use it the same way. Tool rest high, or point handle high, point close to center. Speed down, on, and
chicken.
Smart.
Live chicken.
Yeah.
Better to be a smart chicken than a dead duck. Okay, I got a little vibration there. Getting a lot of vibration, so I quit. Now, I'm going to walk around it, but I want to make sure it's way around it. Okay, if I look right here, I can see my line. Is it shown on the camera at all? Right above my finger. Yep, you can just barely see it. So I'm going to raise it high. I'm going to sneak up on it. Hold the handle so it doesn't bounce. Come back out. Doesn't get much better than that for the first try. I'm close to the edge. Got a nice clean arc. Could use a little touch-up with sandpaper I can do by hand. So now we're going to go to the number 2 hole. And let's see, this is going to be my short arc.
Plywood on the back, you just got a through-hole cut?
Excuse me?
Plywood on the back that's...
It's just a through hole, just a spacer. Yep. All right. I know my speed was good the last time. This hole is the same distance from the center, so I'm not going to mess with the speed. I'm going to bring everything up, make sure it still misses. I'm going to turn it a little more that way to get a better clearance on the bottom. It's too close. I'm going to take my pencil, put my mark on it, and I'm going to see where we end up. Okay, I guess I'm going to go right here. That works. There's number 2 mark. I'm going to make that one a little darker. Maybe you can see it better on the camera. I got really smart thanks to my youngest son. He was in high school at the time. He says, "Dad, you know, if you do that a strobe light, you'll be able to see it exactly." And we did. We matched it up, but we had to turn the lights off in the shop to do it. And it took about 7.5 to 8 minutes. And I was out on the front porch and tasting lunch again. My eyes could not handle that. And my system said, "There's no way." But it was a neat effect for once. So I try it one time and let me know how it works for you. Yeah, I can see that line a little better. Yep. All right, same thing. Sneak up on it. And if you miss the line, go with it anyway, because trying to catch it will destroy it. It's there somewhere. There it is. There's number 2. And pencil mark for number 3. Should go on this side. Now when you do your first 1 or 2, use scrap wood, because you're going to throw them away. Okay, I'm going to do a short line on this one, so I'm not going to go as deep. Otherwise I'll end up with a whole circle. And there's number 3, a little bit of tear out on it. And then at this point, I would go back to my center, clean up that outside edge, taper it back, and then reverse it, do a jam chuck, and clean off the whole back so it's concave and gets rid of all my holes and mounts. If I do that now, whoever takes it home can't finish it out. Okay. So at this point, if you have questions, I'll answer questions. You can pass that around.
So
And
finish off the back, when you say finish off the back side, you're going to cut it down so that
okay. The back side will be tapered back so it leaves a shadow on the wall. I don't want it to look like it was glued to the wall.
Ah, okay.
Then it becomes concave on the inside to get rid of all the screw holes and mounts.
How far apart are your holes that you drew?
Okay, That depends on the size of your disc. That's why I draw them on the back with a compass.
I'd say 1.5 inches on this one.
Yeah. I actually sit and draw, the whole thing's drawn on, if you look on the back, you can see the arc lines. And they're drawn because I know what I want to happen on the front, because of what happened on the back.
Right.
Right, yeah. Let's see, I've got another one here somewhere. Where? I think maybe in the back of my box.
But then they're equidistant, correct?
They can be, they don't have to be. Okay, this is a perfect example of what not to do. Right? If your grain is running this way, the grain looks good, but if this is supposed to be wheat, it looks like the wind's blowing it over backwards instead of the way it'd be going with the wind. If you get the grain up like it should be, or the wheat up like it should be, then the grain's running this way and it fights for competition with the eyes. And it just does not work. And well, if I hang it upside down, I said, okay, it's sun rays. And my wife goes, sun rays don't curve, hun. So you've got to work through that both ways. That's why I take the time to draw it out on the back and work it out so I know beforehand what's going to happen.
So those are not equidistant.
These are not. This one's a little closer, and it gives the distance here changes when you do that.
If they're equal, it makes the point down here, right?
You're right. If they're equal distance, then you get that point at the bottom where this one, see how they're opened up?
Yeah.
So this was a throwaway good practice piece, and someday, why keep it just to show and demonstrations of what not to do. Okay, any other questions on anything I've done tonight?
Pass that one around, please.
Sure. Okay, I want to say one more thing and I'll get to your question. You need 3 people in your life in wood turning. You need one person who is your ooh-ah person. My wife is my ooh-ah person. I'll call her up and say, honey, I've done a new piece, and she'll go, okay. And when I walk in the door, she's already gone, ah. That's your encourager. You need one person that you really got to love a lot who is your critique. It says, it looks good except for. And you got to love them a lot because they're telling you the truth and you still want to like them. The third person you need is that somebody that can work with you on tool control and technique. And that's where your wood turning club is invaluable, to find at least 2 of those 3. And sometimes you can find all 3 of them. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. As I'm cleaning up, if you have questions, please come up and ask. Oh, draw, okay.